Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're tackling a topic that is absolutely essential for every medical student out there: ammonia metabolism. We're going to follow the incredible journey of how our body deals with a surprisingly common and pretty dangerous toxin, so let's dive right in.
Have you ever really stopped to think about it? Every single time you eat something with protein, your body is making ammonia. And this stuff, it can be seriously harmful. So how on earth do we manage this constant threat day in and day out without even thinking about it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at why ammonia is such a big deal, the problem itself. Then we'll figure out where it comes from and how we move it around safely. After that, it's on to the main event, the urea cycle. We'll also cover what happens when things go wrong, which is super important clinically, and finish up with a quick recap and quiz to lock it all in.
All right, section 1, the ammonia problem. So let's start with the why. Why does the body put so much energy into getting rid of this stuff? Because it's not just another waste product, you know? It's a constant internal threat that our system has to handle with absolute precision.
So, what are we actually talking about when we say ammonia? Well, it's a toxic compound full of nitrogen that's popping up all the time as we break down amino acids. And here's a key detail. At our body's pH, it's actually hanging around as the ammonium ion, that's NH4+. The most important thing to get right now is that this isn't a one-off thing. Our body is making this toxin constantly.
And this is why it's so incredibly critical to understand, especially when you think about patient care. Ammonia is a potent neurotoxin. We're talking seriously bad for the brain. Even a tiny little increase can cause some really scary symptoms: tremors, slurred speech, blurred vision, and if it gets bad enough, it can lead to a coma or even death. This is exactly why our body has built such a rock-solid system to deal with it.
Now check this out, because this is what really blows my mind. The normal concentration of ammonia in your blood is just 10 to 20 micrograms per deciliter. That is an incredibly tiny amount. This super tight range is just, well, it's proof of how unbelievably efficient our body's disposal system is. It gets rid of this stuff almost the instant it's made. Okay, so our body is fighting this non-stop battle against ammonia. The next logical question is, where's all of it even coming from? Let's pinpoint the sources.
All right, the number one culprit by far is the breakdown of amino acids. Processes like transamination and deamination literally rip the nitrogen group right off the amino acid, and boom, you've got ammonia. But that's not the only place. It also comes from things like biogenic amines, from breaking down purines and pyrimidines, from our DNA and RNA, and even from bacteria hanging out in our gut.
Okay, next up, safe transport. Think about it. We've got this dangerous toxin being made all over the body, but the main cleanup crew is in the liver. So, how do you ship hazardous material through the bloodstream without causing a disaster? Well, the body has these brilliant little biochemical armored trucks to do the job. And our two main armored vehicles are the amino acids glutamine and alanine. So what happens is, the body takes that free, toxic ammonia and quickly stuffs it into these molecules, making it safe for travel. Glutamine is the real workhorse here. It's like a mobile storehouse for ammonia, and it's actually the most common amino acid in our blood. It's especially crucial for getting ammonia out of the brain. Then you've got alanine. It has a more specialized job as part of the glucose-alanine cycle, basically acting as a dedicated shuttle service, moving ammonia from our muscles straight to the liver for processing.
And now we've arrived at the star of the show, the detoxification factory itself. We're talking about the urea cycle. This is an absolutely brilliant metabolic pathway that goes down mostly in the liver, and it's where the magic happens, where the body takes something dangerous and turns it into simple, harmless waste.
The core idea here is just beautiful in its simplicity. The liver grabs that toxic ammonia, combines it with carbon dioxide, and turns it into urea. And what's so great about urea? Well, it's non-toxic and it dissolves really easily in water, which makes it the perfect substance to ship off to the kidneys to be flushed out in our urine.
Okay, I know this might look like a lot, but don't get bogged down in the details. Let's just focus on the main story. It's a 5-step cycle. For your exams, step 1 is the one you really need to know. It's the rate-limiting step, and it happens in the mitochondria. That's ammonia's entry ticket. Then another key moment is step 3, where a second nitrogen atom jumps on board, this time from aspartate. After a few more steps, we get to the grand finale. An enzyme called arginase snips off the urea molecule. And what's super cool is that it also regenerates ornithine, the starting molecule, so the whole cycle can just keep on turning.
Now, this whole cleanup process isn't free. In fact, it's pretty expensive. It costs our body 4 high-energy ATPs just to deal with one molecule of ammonia. Think about that investment. It's a huge energy cost, but it's a price the body is more than willing to pay. Why? Because the alternative, letting that ammonia build up and wreck the brain, is so much worse. It just goes to show you how seriously the body takes this threat.
So what happens when this beautifully designed system fails? This is where all that biochemistry we've been talking about crashes right into clinical practice, and for the patient, the consequences can be really severe.
The condition is called hyperammonemia. The name says it all, right? Hyper, too much, ammonia in the blood. And this usually happens for one of 2 big reasons. First, it can be acquired. Think severe liver disease like cirrhosis. If the liver is sick, it just can't run the urea cycle effectively. Second, it can be genetic, meaning someone is born with a faulty enzyme somewhere in that cycle.
And this is just a quick look at some of those genetic disorders. Basically, if you have a defect in any of the 5 key enzymes in the cycle, the whole system gets jammed up. Each defect has its own name, but the bottom line is always the same. Ammonia builds up to toxic levels, and that leads to serious damage to the nervous system.
So how do we manage this? Well, we have a few tools. We can use drugs like sodium benzoate that basically act like little nitrogen traps, grabbing the ammonia so it can be excreted safely. In a real emergency, we might have to use hemodialysis to just filter the ammonia directly out of the blood. And in some cases, we might even use antibiotics to take out some of the gut bacteria that are contributing to the ammonia load.
All right, we've made it through the whole journey, from toxic bioproduct to harmless waste. Now let's do a quick recap and a little quiz just to make sure all these key ideas are locked in place.
And hey, here's a great little mnemonic to help you remember all this for your exams. Just remember ammonia's fate, F-A-T-E. It's formed from amino acids, it's transported safely using amino acids, it's transformed into urea, and then it's eliminated. Simple as that.
Okay, time for a quick question. Which organ is the main headquarters for detoxification? The primary site of the urea cycle? Got it? Of course you do. It's the liver. All right, one more for you. Can you name the 2 armored trucks we talked about? The 2 main ways ammonia is transported safely in the blood? You got it. Glutamine and alanine.
So when you step back and look at it, this whole process is just an amazing example of biochemical precision, right? It's not just a random set of reactions to memorize for an exam, it's a truly elegant, life-saving system designed to protect our most precious organ, the brain. Really understanding this whole journey, from the molecules to the bedside, is what being a great doctor is all about. Thanks so much for tuning in.